إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبد الله ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله عز وجل كما جاء في محكم التنزيل: يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تشكرون. Dear brothers and sisters, we give an abundant praise and gratitude towards our Creator who blessed us with life and everything in it. We have all been blessed with countless favors and blessings, and so we seek His favor, we seek His guidance, we seek His forgiveness when we slip up on the straight path. And we know that He is merciful and compassionate, and we know that He is going to take care of us if we simply call upon Him and seek His favor and forgiveness. And so we bear witness and declare that there is no deity, nothing worthy of worship except for Allah alone, and Muhammad was His final servant and messenger sent to bring mankind out of the darkness of the corruption of worshiping the self and other entities into the worship of the merciful God that created us. We are now coming very close to Ramadan. Next Friday, inshallah, we'll all be in a very uplifted spiritual state. And as we talked about last week, Ramadan and the fasting in Ramadan is all about a concept in Arabic called taqwa, God consciousness, spiritual devotion, spiritual responsibility for one's soul, a concern for the spiritual and removing oneself from the concern for the physical and the material. And so Shaitan, his main call is enjoy this life. Have your Jannah here on earth. Enjoy all of your time, have fun, make money, and don't worry about what happens after you die. That's Shaitan's message. Allah Azza wa Jal, the creator of the universe, has been sending prophets, and one of the main things that they all did, as it was prescribed, is to fast, to take some time to remove oneself from the materialistic, egotistical desire worship into a focus on the spiritual, heavenly reality that gives our soul its mystical, beautiful reality that we're all living and conscious of in our life. So that is the reality, that is the stage that is being set. And so it's very important that we realize this is a month of spiritual conditioning. This is a month when we look at what's wrong with ourselves and we try to fix ourselves. We look what we can do to become better people. This is the whole entire purpose and focus of this month. Every last one of us, myself included, have a sin that we need to get rid of. Every last one of us has some sort of righteous deed that we're not doing that we could add to our daily regimen. So let's today talk about how are some of the aspects that Ramadan is going to influence us to become better people if we only embrace Ramadan as it was meant to be embraced. Number one, fasting has to be an act of pure spiritual devotion, right? It has to be from the heart, and it has to be seeking favor with the Creator of our soul and our lives and everything that we exist in. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi. Man qama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban, ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi." Whoever would fast in the month of Ramadan in deep faith and devotion, in answering the call of the Quran, in obedience, wahtisaban, and seeking a special favor and reward from our Lord and Creator, then that person will have all of their sins forgiven. That is the beauty of the month of Ramadan. And then he adds to that, whoever stood in the night and prayed some extra prayers in the nighttime after Isha, throughout the month of Ramadan, with devotion and faith, those people will have their sins forgiven, right? And so Ramadan has this special spiritual connection. Nobody knows if you or I are fasting but Allah and us. It's a very unique type of worship. If you pray, somebody might see you pray, right? If you give charity, somebody's going to know because you have to give it to someone. whatever you do of deeds outside of fasting has someone else involved. Fasting is a very special connection with Allah Azza wa Jal. He is the only one that knew if we truly fasted the whole day in devotion and discipline to connect ourselves to the spiritual, removing ourselves from the material that we are struggling with every day. For this reason, the Prophet ﷺ told us, the angel Gabriel, he came to me and he told me that Allah said, كُلُّ عَمْلِ ابْنِ آدَمْ يُضَاعَفُ الْحَسَنَةُ عَشْرَ أَمْثَالِهَا إِلَى 700 ضِعْف. That all actions of the children of Adam, they will be multiplied from 10 times to 700 times, right? So this statement in the first part is telling us the overarching, superseding mercy of Allah, right? A lot of people, they think about Islam as if you do this, you go to hellfire. If you do that, Allah will not love you. This is not the correct understanding. He said, Rahmati sabaqat ghadabi, that my mercy and compassion overarches and supersedes my just retribution, which is His displeasure that we would choose to not live in His remembrance, right? And so all actions are multiplied. Any bad deed, 1. You get 1 bad deed if you do 1 bad deed. Any good deed, according to this hadith, 10 times to 700 times the reward will be put in your scale as though you did it 700 times, or depending on the intention and the sincerity behind it. Then, going back to the hadith, Allah said, إِلَّا الصَّوْمُ فَإِنَّهُ لِي وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ. Right? Except fasting. So all deeds are in one category, and they're either 10 times to 700 times the value in your scale of account. Fasting, he says, is separate. And in the Hadith Qudsi that God is telling the angel Gabriel that except fasting, it's a special thing for me, and I will give a special, unique reward for it. So this is the time to connect in a very special way towards our Creator. As we said last week, رُبَّ صَائِمٍ حَظُّهُ مِنْ صِيَامِهِ الْجُوعَ وَالْعَطَشِ. Do not be that person. Unfortunately, many Muslims are afflicted that all they do in Ramadan is some sort of ethnic, cultural, family tradition thing of fasting, so they starve themselves all day, and there's no spiritual focus. Their deeds, their character, their words are all the same, and then when it comes time to eat, they just start to go to town on the food, and they just eat and eat and eat, and sweets and sweets and sweets. And even if they came into, some people don't even come to Taraweeh, they just watch TV programs all night, right? This is completely void of the value of Ramadan. This is completely secularized. It's just like some of the Christians wanted to celebrate that Jesus was born. And that's a good thing in general. It's not a religious thing for us, right? To celebrate the Prophet Jesus was born. For their mind, okay? We're not talking about in our religion. But then all of a sudden now you have Santa Claus and flying reindeer and all of these things, because the cultural thing of people's ideas took over, right? Now it's just a capitalist enterprise to make money off of it, right? Muslims are starting to do the same thing all over the Muslim world. Sell the little lanterns and all of that, and then we lost all the spiritual value, right? So it's very important to keep a spiritual focus on Ramadan. That's what it was intended to be. So let's talk about some of the ways in which Ramadan will make us better people. That's what it's supposed to do. We're supposed to go into Ramadan with certain character flaws and defects, with certain weaknesses in knowledge and spirituality and action, and then we come out of Ramadan with sustainable action that is better in our lives. If we go in and go through and come out the same person, we did not understand Ramadan. So the first thing is the Prophet ﷺ, he emphasized the relationship between fasting and the way you speak. Why? Because if you go to Surah Maryam, when she told the people, she said, إِنِّي نَذَرْتُ لِلرَّحْمَنِ صَوْمًا. I have made a promise to my Lord that I will not talk. Originally, Sawm in Arabic, it means to be mute, to not talk, right? Because why? Now somebody might say, what is the relationship? This is where we go deep. Please pay attention. This is the time to learn something, right? The fasting is leaving the material and connecting to the spiritual, the heart, right? Not the body and its needs of nutrition and water, right? The heart. The words you say reflect what's in your heart, right? So if you are one that yells and is angry and uses foul language and cusses and all of these things, then that's because that's what's in your heart. So the Prophet ﷺ had many statements and teachings about purifying one's heart through purifying one's speech. It's a retroactive spiritual purification. If you're conscious about what's coming out on your tongue, then you're conscious about what's in your heart. Once you stop things from coming out on your tongue, and that becomes a practice where you do not allow that to come out, then you start to expunge it from your heart. You see what I'm saying? So that is the point. So the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ وَالْعَمَلْ بِهِ وَالْجَهْلِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ أَنْ يَدَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. That whoever did not leave while fasting the false speech and acting upon it and the ignorant foolish behavior, then God is not of any interest that you would give up food and water. Right? So what's being said here is we need to make sure that we are people of true thoughts and honest thoughts and genuine thoughts, and that we talk with those thoughts, and that we only interact with people based upon those thoughts, and we never become foolish or clown behavior or angry, disrespectful behavior, right? That is in fasting. We're supposed to be working on this. Our heart should get better, but thus what comes out of our mouth should get better while fasting, right? So the second hadith, he said, as-sawmu junnah. Fasting is a shield between you and the hellfire. Just mysteriously? No, because of the spiritual rectification process that Ramadan comes with. Not just magically, I went to Ramadan and now I'm pure, just because I was in Ramadan. No, it's because you worked on this accountable self-attitude and you became more aware of your shortcomings and the things that you need to work on in your life, right? So then he said, فَإِذَا كَانَ الصِّيَامُ صَوْمَ أَحَدِكُمْ فَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَصْخَبْ وَلَا يَجْهَلْ فَإِنْ شَاتَمَهُ أَحَدٌ أَوْ قَاتَلَهُ فَلْيَقُلْ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ. Right? You're not supposed to go around telling everybody, I'm fasting, I'm fasting. Because this is not showing off and you're losing the special spiritual connection that's supposed to be there. You should have a smile on your face even though you're going through hunger and thirst, and at the first few days you might have a little headache if you haven't been fasting, but you have a smile on your face because you have a special connection of devotion and obedience that only you and Allah know about. It's a special thing. So you should be happy. So the hadith, it says that if it happened to be that you're fasting, then you should not use foul language, you should not yell at people, and you should not be annoying to people and act foolish, right? And if someone starts a verbal fight or annoys you, right, or comes at you with some sort of attack, then you should say at that point, I'm fasting, please give me a break here, right? Why? To get yourself out of the conflict. There should be no conflict. There should be peace while you're fasting, right? So this is when somebody should say if they're fasting or not. The next hadith, the Prophet ﷺ clarifies very clearly. لَيْسَ الصِّيَامُ مِنَ الطَّعَامِ وَالشَّرَابِ إِنَّمَا الصِّيَامُ مِنَ اللَّغْوِ وَالرَّفَثِ. It is not just leaving food and drink that you fast. That's not the purpose. That's not it. That's just to build the connection. The purpose comes after you have that connection, spiritual purification. That is the process. So it's that you leave foul language and useless language. Some of the youth, they asked me, Imam, what if I listen to music? I said, okay, if you're going to listen to like Maher Zain or Sami Yusuf or Native Deen or something, mashallah, I'm sure you'll get some spiritual upliftment and you will not be led astray. That is the opinion of many ulama, and being that all of our kids are listening to music anyways, we need to give them some sort of a halal option, right? We have to be realistic in the way we deal with people, right? And so, some of them said, no, but I like to listen to Lil Wayne or Lady Gaga, and I just listen for the beat, man, it just flows. And I'm like, yeah, while that beat has you in a trance, you're being brainwashed with satanic ideas. Oh, look at this extreme imam. I'm telling you, I was not always Muslim. It took me a long time, and I'm still working on weeding out filth that got into me through stuff I used to watch on television, basically the whole of MTV, and stuff that I used to listen to, a lot of the hip-hop, rap, and rock, and other things that have filthy lyrics that have no place in a true believer's ears or eyes, right? My brother came to me and said, can I go watch this horror movie? Why would you put horror into your eyes? Why would you listen to that? Why would you entertain yourself with something that sounds like shaitan, right? Why? How? In Ramadan, it's the time to get rid of all that stuff. We're going to leave it. We're going to completely focus on spirituality, and then after Ramadan, we keep that connection, right? It's a process. You have to take, if you want forgiveness, you have to take a step towards him. Then he comes 10 steps towards you. If you want mercy, you have to go walking towards him. He'll come running towards you. But if you act like, inshallah, I have a good heart, the modern secular religion that was invented by people in Europe and America over the last couple hundred years, and no prophet came with no miracles to teach this religion. People just made it up. You have a good heart and you don't have to pray and all that. Inshallah, Allah will forgive you. This is not Islam. This is not any prophet. Nobody taught that, right? You have to be careful before the shaitan has control over your heart and he's telling you you're a good person in the process, right? We have to have the highest standard of character, and Ramadan is that time when we develop it. The studies in psychology show us that it takes between 21 days and 2 months to completely rid someone of a bad habit or to establish a good habit, right? So as we said, you're not going to become, alhamdulillah, sahabi in Ramadan. None of us are going to do that. But we can take one thing, this Ramadan, one sin that we have done or that we do, and get rid of it. Work hard, focus on it every day, a conscious thought. I need to not do that. I will not do this thing. I will not even allow myself to think about it. I will be busy with something else. So the scholar said, you're trying to establish something good, you put time for it, and you be conscious about the need for it. If you want to get rid of something bad, you have to be conscious of a dislike towards it and bait and switch. Take that away and add something in its place, right? You have to put something else. And using the opposite will fix bad problems. So I've identified, inshallah, over the last 8 years, trying to work in community service and guidance as an imam, some of the main problems we have in the Muslim community that I see in dealing with the people. Number one is people not praying. That is the biggest issue that I see across the Muslim world, is people don't pray. And somehow they think that they're still a good Muslim or something like that. Or they might go to Jannah. The Quran said that the people of hell said the first thing, قَالُوا لَمْ نَكُ مِنَ الْمُصَلِّينَ. We said, we're not of those who used to pray. That's the people of the hellfire. And the Prophet ﷺ said, بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَالْكُفْرِ تَرْكُ الصَّلَاةِ. Between someone in absolute disbelief is leaving the prayer. Now, the secular system has brainwashed those of you that don't pray to say, man, he's being harsh and rigid. He's judging me, right? This is the culture. This is the way. Trust me, I was raised in it. Alhamdulillah, we're in the purification process to get rid of it and follow the prophets who did the miracles, who have a legacy of prophetic lineage, right? That's who we follow, right? And so, here's what the person is really saying. I'm going to give it to you logical. Since we love logic and reason, the person who doesn't pray is basically, God said to him, look, I love you. I sent prophets. I sent the message. I know how your mind and body works in your environment. You're going to be easily enticed by shaitan. I don't want him to ruin you. So I gave you these 5 times a day so that your sins will be forgiven and you will remember me and your spiritual reality and be ready to die when death comes, because you have that structure in your day where the most important thing to you is your soul and who created it, right? And that's a responsibility you're taking care of. The person who doesn't pray responds and says back, yeah, I don't need that. Think about what just was said. This is exactly what just happened, right? The person took and spit in the face of God saying, I don't need your forgiveness system. I'm going to do it on my own. Some people told me you don't have to pray. Then you ask, what revelation did they receive? What miracle did they perform to give you such revelation about how to live your life as a believer in God and the last day? Right? So this is where you have to be very careful. The second issue is arrogance. Arrogance, the idea of superiority in everything that I think, my ideas, my way of doing things, my customs, my culture is superior just because that's the way I was and that's how I was raised, and we're right and you're wrong and that's how it is. This is a big fitna in the Muslim community. People just assume the greatness of themselves. We are nothing but the blessing of Allah. Every individual and collectively, we wouldn't exist without Him. We wouldn't have knowledge without Him. We couldn't speak, we couldn't see, we couldn't hear, we couldn't walk without Him. So alhamdulillah, hamdan yamla'u al-mizan, right? This is a type of attitude we should have. Praise and gratitude. All I know is a little bit. Whatever I've been giving is a blessing for Him. I need to learn more, I need to get better, and there's lots of people better than me and more knowledgeable than me and have things that I need to learn about cultural experience and life and wisdom that I need to learn from them as well, young and old, right? This is the attitude that we need to have. Arrogance has no place in the heart of the believer, because the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man kana fi qalbihi mithqalu dharra min kibr la yadkhulu al-jannah." Whoever has just the little tiny speck of arrogance in their heart. And trust me, shaitan, he will tell you, no, alhamdulillah, you're humble. And he'll convince you to act humble because that's the way you're supposed to look in front of people. Now it's riyah. It's not like a genuine feeling in deep down. You don't feel that way. You're acting that way so that people will think you're humble. That's the shaitan's tricks. We have to be careful. We have to be careful. So we be genuine and we be honestly knowing our faults and shortcomings, looking to become better people. The number 3 issue is assumptions and suspicions. Muslims live in conspiracy theory world. One brother came to me and said, Imam, with all due respect to you, it seems like you have an agenda. Of course I have an agenda. I'm the Imam, right? I have to have an agenda, okay? And my agenda is we follow Quran and Sunnah and we live in America. And we have to find out how those work together without compromise, right? And we take from the classical orthodoxy tradition. Maybe some people aren't aware of that classical orthodox tradition, or they weren't trained in it, and they're very comfortable with a certain attitude that was built in a different place, and how Islam related to that place, and how they developed over that time. We have to allow it to happen to come from here, and alhamdulillah, Islam is compatible with this place. That's why you're all here. If it wasn't, you wouldn't be here, because al-hijrah fard. Ala man la yastati' al-ibadah, right? Whoever cannot worship Allah Azza wa Jalla in a place, they are obligated to leave that place to a place where they can worship. And I can tell you, in my experience, this is the place where they give you the full freedom to be the best mu'min you can be. And there's a double-edged sword. You can be the worst, corrupt, and filthy person if you want to be as well. But it's your choice. And that's why the choice becomes genuine here, because no one's forcing you. And the society isn't guilt-tripping you into it. You can go this way or that way, it's your choice. The full freedom and the absolute wide open path and keys to building your community is given to you. What will we do with it, right? The next issue is anger. Wallahi, anger is a big problem in the Muslim community. Whether it's kids or parents or whoever, people yelling and squeezing, using foul language. Wallahi, it happened one time. This couple came to me and the brother said, I don't know what happened. The brother was fasting. And it's 30 minutes until we break the fast. And some little argument and dispute happened between the in-laws and the brother and the wife. This brother lost his mind, grabbed his wife around the neck and started screaming, I'm going to throw you and the kids out the window. This guy he was not trained to know what fasting is and what is its purpose. I'm sure of it, right? Because if you knew what fasting was, that thought, that idea would never come to you. Never, right? That's why it says that فُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُ الْجَنَّةِ وَصُفِّدَتِ الشَّيَاطِينَ and غُلِّقَتْ أَبْوَابُ النَّارِ. If you yourself are partly a shaitan, you're not, or if any human, they will not be chained. Human shayateen are going to be running free. You cannot stop that. The jinns of the shayateen, with all of their whispers, when you're fasting, you have a much stronger capacity to not be influenced. And that's what that hadith is talking about. Because Allah knows that something will happen in your mind and in your body that will give you patience and ease in dealing with things. So fasting is something He obligated so that you can properly assess spiritual issues and try to rectify your character. And the last thing, as we said last week, smoking. There is no way, shape, or form that any believer should smoke anything. To burn something with your wealth. To burn something with your wealth. Yeah.
What do you mean now? What do you mean now?
Can somebody please help the brother, inshallah? So in the Quran and the Sunnah, we know that it is forbidden to kill yourself. It is forbidden to harm yourself. It is forbidden to do something that will make you smell bad, and that is from the khaba'ith, right? We should never allow ourselves to be overcome by this filth, right? Almost all scholars on planet Earth, based upon the fact of the science and the medicine, have rejected this. Smoking is forbidden, whether it's shisha or anything. I read an article that says 1 inhalation of shisha is like 7 inhalations of a cigarette from the actual paper. Why? Because there's all kind of carcinogens in fruit and tobacco. And the little bubbly water does not fix the problem at all. So this is science, 101, right? Many scientists in there, ask them, they'll tell you. This is not opinion issue, this is science issue, right? So the Prophet, he said, "La darar wa la dirar." There is no harming yourself or other people, right? So there is no smoking on this premises, and Ramadan is the time to completely rid yourself, because it will break your fast. Why? Because it's giving you some uplift energy that you should not be having while you're fasting. So go 30 days without smoking. Why break your fast on a cigarette? This is a spiritual day. Surely the breaking of the fast is a very spiritual moment in which you pray that Allah help you to quit smoking, and then you eat food, dates, water, clean, طيبات. أحل لكم الطيبات وحرم عليكم الخبائث. There's no way, shape, or form that any Muslim should be doing this. This is something spread in the Muslim world, unfortunately. We see here people who are non-Muslim taking a very serious approach to fixing this corruption of mankind, in which people would spend their wealth on something to burn it and then to inhale it and harm themselves with it, right? So this is something that we need to fix and get rid of individually and collectively. None of these sins that I mentioned can be fixed like that. You have to have yourself and your family and people around you helping you in that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us in that. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
لما تقولون ما لا تفعلون كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون. I will not pray with you because you such a liar. All right, you faker.
اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت إنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك إنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من عاديت تباركت ربنا وتعاليت نستغفرك اللهم من جميع الذنوب والخطايا ونتوب إليك. My dear brothers and sisters, I will conclude with this statement, okay? I have heard from some brothers that there is a concern about the issue of fasting and how we identify that month. There is differences among scholars in the history of Islam. We live in a reality where we don't control our schedule or our timing or our times off or how we do it, right? We do not have an official moon sighting, government-sanctioned committee that we can prove what happened. So for this reason, many of the masajid, dare I say about half of them in America, are using the calculation system to identify that. Yes, according to fiqh of the general, if you just throw out the opinions, this is the weakest opinion, of course. But according to the priorities of Islamic law, it is the best for us. In the Muslim world, there's no need for it. We can control our schedule, we go out, we look for the moon, and then once somebody sees it, we try to verify with someone else. We have a system, people know where they're looking, what they're looking for, and that's it. And it makes it easy. We don't have that capacity here. The Prophet ﷺ says, "As-sawmu yawma tusumun, wal-fitru yawma tuftirun." This authentic hadith. That the fasting is the day that you all fast, and the breaking of the fast is the day that you all break the fast. For this reason, the scholars identified in the commentary of this hadith, if one of us went out and saw the moon, and we're the only one, and we didn't tell anybody about it, we're not allowed to fast tomorrow. Because fasting cannot be one guy doing Ramadan. That person has to have a jama'ah according to this hadith. So when the mosque has established, based upon all these scholarly councils, right, particularly the one that our mosque and our waqf is established with, okay, that have blessed us with some help along the way, right, that we should just go along with the jama'ah, right, and we don't divide ourselves. Dividing yourselves on matters of disagreement is a major sin. Taking a different opinion is a matter of choice, which one you're convinced with. But when it deals with the whole community, right, then we all have to come together and do what is easiest for us and facilitates our Ramadan. So please, let's not make division about that. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to join our hearts and that we all fast together.